Alright, good yontiv everybody. You'll have to excuse me, I'm a little under the weather, that's why I haven't been making videos. But today's a very special day, so I wanted to discuss a little bit about the holiness of this day, which is Purim Katan, the small Purim, the lesser Purim. And what's the meaning of this day, Purim Katan? What's exactly going on in this day? We find a reference to Purim Katan at the end, the first of the four divisions of the Code of Jewish Law, or a Chaim, the way of life, which speaks about the laws of our daily lives. There the Ramah, in his glosses to the Code of Jewish Law, explains that there's an opinion that one should... well, first of all, the Shulchan Aruch itself brings, the Mechaber brings, or Yosef Karo brings, that there's an opinion that one should celebrate this day of Purim Katan with a Seudah, with a feast, and break bread. And the Ramah explains that it's not the custom to do so, but it's good to be strict. Why? And he quotes from Mishlei, from the book of Proverbs, from King Solomon, Leiv Tov Mishta Tamid, that the good heart is always drinking, always rejoicing, always celebrating. I remember when I was a kid, I had a poster up in my room with every day either a historical event or some kind of an annual event in a town somewhere. I remember something about a Marx Brothers festival in one town, and the Three Stooges festival, which I could assume would be in Ambler, Pennsylvania, at the Stoogium. Not sure. Anybody who's never been there and who's not too far from Philadelphia area, which I would include New York, New Jersey, and if you're a fan of the Three Stooges, I would suggest to check out the Stoogium. It's quite an interesting place, and we see there that from Shem's tax returns that he was a Baal Tzedakah. So anyway, that he was charitable, he gave to Jewish causes. And it says the name of this poster that I had on my wall was just in case you need an excuse to party. So the Ramah quotes this verse saying, any excuse you can find to have a party, make a party. Leiv Tov Mishta Tamid, the good heart is always literally drinking, but rejoicing, celebrating. Now, what exactly does that mean? The Reb Tzadok, a Kohen from Lublin, and Pri Tzadik, excuse me, he brings that we see the Ramah ends or a Chaim, the first of the four books of the Code of Jewish Law, with the word Tamid, and he also begins it with a verse that ends with the word Tamid. In Psalm 16, Shavisi Hashem L'negdi Samid, I set the Lord before me always. There's different interpretations what that means exactly. And he says, that this is one of the great fundamentals of our faith, is that verse, that I set the Lord before me always. That a simple meaning should be that one has a constant awareness of God. Baal Shem Tov notes that Shavisi is related to Shivyas, which means equanimity. That a person who has a concept of equanimity in their life, recognition that we are monotheists, there's only one God, and so there's no difference whatever God gives us, if it's bitter or it's sweet. It's totally good. Excuse me. So right now I have a cold. I know I got a flu shot, but it's good. Thank you, Hashem, for this. It's so beautiful. It's so wonderful. It's really nice. It's a geschmack. Especially, when I think about how lazy I was as a child. Especially before I started to go to yeshiva, how often I would miss school. Be absent from school all the time. When I was in elementary school, especially. I got older and I moved in with my Baba, Shalom, whose yahrzeit was just last week. And I went to yeshiva, then I could not never miss school. When I had to be really, really sick to take a day off of school. When I was at Ezra Academy. Ezra Academy is such a sweet, wonderful place. And it wasn't public school. It wasn't so simple. And, to rectify that laziness and to take a day like this when I'm feeling sick and to go and work, but to keep a distance from people, I feel it's a rectification for my past. So it's good. It's very good. And I'm thankful to HaKadosh Baruch Hu for this opportunity. Alex, I want to ask Schuldig to pardon me for blowing my nose and coughing and things. I should pause it, but I'm too weak. I just want to pay attention to the road. So we have interesting thing. There's a term in scripture in the book of Numbers, Shnei Tamidim Kilchasam. Shnei Tamidim Kilchasam. There are two Tomids according to the laws. Meaning there was a constant daily offering that was brought every morning and every afternoon in the temple. Burnt offerings were brought every day too. That was the Korban Atomid. And every sacrifice other than the Paschal offering would come between those two parentheses. Between the morning continual offering and the evening the afternoon continual offering. Anything else that was offered that day, people came, private offerings, whatever, would have to be after the morning Tamid and before the afternoon Tamid, or the evening Tamid, but it would have to be in the afternoon, while it's still daylight, before sundown, or maybe whatever, at least before evening. So all the halachas are between those two tamidim. Come on, right? The first Sif and Shulchan Aruch has Shvisi Hashem L'negdi Samid, and the last has Leiv Tov Mishta Tamid. Tzaddik goes on to explain, well, what does it mean exactly? Rashi on that pasuk, Rashi on that verse in Proverbs says that Leiv Tov Mishta Tamid is not meaning literally, it's meaning figuratively. It means that the happy heart, the good heart, is is constantly drinking, constantly celebrating, constantly rejoicing, that means to say that the Reb Tzadok explains Rashi says Samech Bechelko, someone who is happy with his lot, with his portion in life, his lot in life. Whatever God gives him, he's happy. He's not trying to get something else. He's not jealous of other people. and that's what Pirkei Avos says, Ezu Asher Samech Bechelko, who's really wealthy, who's really rich. Somebody who's happy with what he has. Right? Someone could have millions of dollars, but they want more, and they're not really happy. So it's important to appreciate what you have. And the thing is, if essentially, the Medrash Koheles says that if somebody has an attitude of gratitude, somebody is thankful to God, God will see that's a good investment. But the thing is, we have to be thankful for everything, even the things that we think are bad. We have to be humble and recognize that they're really good. And Reb Tzadok says essentially that's the message of Purim Katan, because this was in the time when the miracle had not yet taken place, and the people were still worried. It's a month before Purim. There's different understandings of what that means, because there is an understanding that it was actually a leap year that year, and it was the first Purim was observed, and then the following month they observed it again. Because the Iber Yor came later. It wasn't like now that we have a set calendar. There's a whole machlekes what that means exactly, if it's even true, but it's interesting. So the Reb Tzadok explains that a rejoicing heart means just that. The heart is rejoicing. It's not necessarily that you're actually drinking, but in your heart, like the Rebbe Zisha says, in your heart you're dancing, in your mind you're dancing. It's just that it might not be manifested physically, but it is manifested spiritually and emotionally and mentally. The good heart is always drinking, always rejoicing, always happy. We got to learn to be happy people. Now, many tzaddikim, they would have a Suda on this day. I often look at the Hanhogos of the Satmar Rav, because why particularly the Satmar Rav? Because he was always concerned with halachic matters, not just Hasidic Hanhogos, Hasidic mannerisms, Hasidic customs. He cared about fulfilling the halachic prerogative. Interesting, although he was also concerned with Kabbalistic matters and so forth. So, for example, the Satmar Rav, which this is not the custom even of most Admorim, most Chassidish Rebbes, and things like that. So most the Admorim who I know, I've seen rabbis eat tuna fish, something like that, on a weekday. Samarov, as far as I know, didn't eat tuna fish. I know Berach Moshe didn't eat tuna fish because he didn't have a minhag like that to eat tuna fish. He didn't have a Masara to eat tuna fish. One time, the cook prepared from something tuna fish, and he said, we didn't eat this in the Haim, Berach Moshe. And they said, we shouldn't embarrass the cook. So the Rebbe, he ate a small bit of it just to show his respect to the cook. I don't know if that was a weekday or a Yom Kippur. This stuff was a regular weekday, so I would guess, unless that was also part of the cheshbon. But the story goes that one time, Satmarov, someone served him fish, and he refused to eat it. But then they said, well, it's the yard side of the Shin of a Rav. So begrudgingly he ate it. He really didn't want to, but he ate it. So that's a nice. But that being said, on Purim Katan, the Samarov would eat fish. He would have a whole Yontif Suda, just privately. He didn't make a tish, but privately he would eat challah, fish, soup, meat, and farfel, probably kompa. We covered this holiday of Purim Katan. He did not put on the shtreimel that day, but that was the minhag of the Samarov, and he ate it privately. And then before he benched, two men were invited in to make a zimun, so he could bench with the zimun. Samarov, it seems, was always mocked, but whenever he benched, whenever he recited Birkas Hamazon, he recited the grace after meals to have a zimun, to have three men present, to invite each other to recite the grace, as is customary when you have three men. So the fact that the Satmarov ate fish on this day shows there's a big chashivas. It's the same type of chashivas like Rosh Chodesh, Chol Moed. These days he would eat fish. It wasn't just a regular day. And he would sing, B'davka, he would sing Shoshanas Yaakov. Usually he would be mechabed one of the guests to sing the zemer, to sing this hymn, and the other one to lead the benching, and that was his minhag, that was his custom, and he would. And it's brought in the Spirit of Reyo that when you sing Zmiris by a Suda, it transforms the Suda into Suda's mitzvah. So even it would seem that goes along with what the Ramah says, Leiv Sameach Mishta Tomid. It would seem that any time there was a Yom Progress, it was some kind of a special day, it's important, if there is not a clear Chi of Suda, to sing Zmiras, Shiras V'Sishmachos, to sing hymns, songs, and praises to the Creator, and that transforms the meal into, but certainly, a Sudas mitzvah. and I would say also, if one says Divrei Torah, or they learn during the Suda, it would be the same thing. Ideally, I think one should do both, but it seems clear from the Satmar Rav's Hanhoga that one is sufficient. And the interesting thing is that there were certain Yom Tovim that the Satmar Rav did not have any smiras during, usually the second day of Yontiv. There were no smiras and no Divrei Torah by the Tish. But for a tzaddik like Satmar Rav, I don't think it's necessary. I think for us, on a much lower madrega, it's important at every Sudas mitzvah to sing something. Although often, if there were no liturgical spiras for a particular meal, still they would sing nigunim, and usually the nigunim would be sung two words, psukim, which fulfills Divrei Torah and the Zmiras Shiras V'Sishbachos, words of Torah and hymns. I'm sorry, I'm not quite myself today. I noticed that. I noticed the way I'm talking and everything. So similarly on Hanukkah, if one makes a Suda on Hanukkah, it's important to sing Zmiras. And I remember yeshiva, in high school, we were discussing this question about whether or not to say Divrei Torah on a weekday meal, and someone said, no, only on Shabbos you say Divrei Torah. And I think we see from here that's just the opposite. Probably any day we sit down and we watch, even if it's a Psalm 23, Mizmor LeDavid, something like that, is certainly appropriate to sing at any meal, where they're not already said Zmiras. I know Suda Silula, Yartzeit Suda, it's customary to sing Nechtam LeDavid, which is Psalm 16. And similarly, if there are appropriate psalms for a particular day, same could be said. Alright, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. My wife is calling me.